Hello, hello, and welcome to this week's episode of The Hard Choice. My name is Brad Draper. I'm your host, and I have with you an absolute stud. His name is Brian Lund. I've known Brian now since 2018, which is wild that it's been 7 years. Back when I used to live in a previous home, 4 homes ago, which is also a wild thing. But Brian has done something that most people will never do, which is the reason I want him on The Hard Choice and why it's so important and it's so imperative that you listen to Brian. So, Brian, welcome to The Hard Choice.
Dude, Brad, thanks so much for having me, man. I'm excited to be here. Really excited to
Yes.
be here. Thank you.
Let's do a little bit of a recap where you come from and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I spent 15 years in corporate America, financial services, licensed broker, um, had all the licenses. I started out with E-Trade, which was then purchased by Morgan Stanley, and yeah, that was my career. I was a tenured financial professional at Morgan Stanley all the way up until 2022, and so that was kind of my previous life, really. So
Love
and
that.
and yeah, so and now I coach. I coach, um, and so we can get into more on that if you want, but
He's not just a coach, he's the coach. He is a
yes.
stud. If you've seen Brian before, because Brian is not one of those guys that's just been fit, athletic, go getter, rock solid, hard his whole life. Brian was patient zero, and he went from this place of turmoil and trepidation and despair. I'm using these really heavy terms. That's really where it was.
Yeah.
And then has come all the way out of it. If you see him in real life, the dude looks like a Herculean god. He's massive, he's jacked, and he's sexy. And he's just a ball of light, and you just see so much energy out of him. So I want to get something across that's not totally obvious because you don't look like you're in your 40s.
Yeah, so late 2018, I was 60 pounds too heavy. Just at Morgan Stanley in a cubicle. Just the culture at Morgan Stanley was such that, they'd bring in highly caloric lunches. We were just eating all the time. And the culture was just, yeah, I mean, it's like you're in a cubicle in corporate America, like a lot of people are, which, that's okay for some people. I had gotten to a point where I was just, so I was, yeah, 60 pounds too heavy, had a health scare, like, and this was really the thing that triggered a whole like cascade of decisions. Had a health scare, and and to a point where I thought I was going to die. So facing death, right? So and the I kind of got out of that and like recovered a bit, whatever, and I went to go see my doctor and just really try to get a handle on my health. Um, Doctor, I go in for a physical, and he weighs me, measures me, does all the stuff for physical. And at the end, he pulls out the chart, the BMI chart, body mass index chart. He shows me, and he doesn't even say anything. He just shows me where I'm at. Um, and my mouth like just jaw went to the floor, and I'm like, I just don't even consider myself an obese person. Like, how am I obese? How am I obese? And I know body mass index doesn't always tell the entire story, but in my case, it was telling a very accurate story because I was soft, just soft, like 60 pounds just of fat, really. And he he was kind of talking to me as a friend, um, there at the end of the appointment. And dude, he put his hand on my shoulder and he looked me square in the eye and he said, Brian, you may run into some problems that could otherwise be avoided if you do something about it now. And I don't know what it was, Brad, but in that moment, something hit me really, like something just hit me hard.
Solid doctor right there. Most doctors
Yeah,
don't have the balls to do that.
I know. This is a good doctor. This is a good doctor. Um, and Dr. Peterson over the Rose Canyon Clinic, he's a stud, Harriman, Utah. So, anyways, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna I'm gonna take this seriously. Like he basically challenged me. He challenged me to get in shape, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take this challenge seriously. I'm turning 40, and I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to live in a situation where I'm 60 pounds carrying too much weight, and worried about heart disease, worried about type 2 diabetes, worried about um, fatty liver disease, can't all these different types of cancer that can be, preventable by having your body fat percentage in order. And so I tried, dude, I tried for 3 months, and and I lost a total of 2 pounds.
Let's go. I
And it was at that moment I was like, okay, I obviously don't know what I'm doing. I obviously don't know what I'm doing. And it was at that point that I hired my first coach, and that changed everything. That changed everything. And in 8 months, I went on to lose 60 pounds, and it gave me a brand new life. It
am
gave
going to
me a
pivot a little bit
brand
with
new
that.
life. Yeah,
You're a coach.
yeah.
You teach people. You have coaches. What is the power of a coach?
It's the ultimate hack, dude. Like it really truly is probably the ultimate life hack in terms of getting things done quickly. Like you can take the slow boat to China. You can learn things on your own. You can figure things out. You can go to Chat GPT. You can get a plan from Chat GPT, all of that, right? But it's not really so much a knowledge problem. It's not a knowledge problem. It's an application problem, right? So a coach helps you apply the correct knowledge and does that with you over time. So it's a massive shortcut. That's all I can say. That's how I would describe coaching. It's a massive shortcut.
I love that. Something that I say frequently is money moves faster than time. And they
Huge.
people don't understand. They say, "What do you mean money moves faster than time?" I said, "You can take what somebody learned over 5, 10, 15, 20 years, or you can pay them if it's going to bring you a lot of value, it's going to cost a lot of value. You could pay them 5, 10, 15, $100,000 and absorb everything they did in 10, 15, 20, 30 years in 6 months to a year
Yeah, that's right, dude.
and just absorb
That's
everything. And they can just tell you what pitfalls to avoid, what things to jump, what things to claim as you're coming along this little game. And they can really direct what your actions and energy do just by telling
to-
you, avoid this, do that.
totally, totally. Yeah, and basically giving you the structure and the framework, and basically implanting that into you. I mean, in my opinion, there's no better way to invest in yourself. There's just no better way.
Yeah, I
Coaching.
agree.
Coaching is where it's at.
I agree. So you were in Morgan Stanley, and in 2022, you took a leap. You're now in your
Yes.
40s. I've
So I
had
went,
people. Go ahead.
oh, go ahead. Yeah,
You're
you've
good.
had
Go.
people. Okay, so I went through this massive transformation, right? So I lost those 60 pounds. It gave me a brand new life, and I was like, I want to help others do this. I want to help others do this. And so anybody, like people saw me, right? They see me go from like really just soft and just not healthy, just obese, to to a guy that's in really good shape, like, and I have people asking me questions. Hey, what did you do? How did you do this? So I coached people for free for a long time. I just, hey, whatever I can do to help, man, let me know. I'll help you, whatever I can do. Helped people for free for a long time. And I got to be helping quite a few people for free. And I was like, okay, I need to probably just do this part time. So while I was still at Morgan Stanley, I got going in the part time with people that wanted to transform, lose body fat, get stronger, you know, put on muscle, all of this. And so I did it part time for a long time. Um, about coached part free for like 6 months, part time for like a year and a half, and then I got to the point where I was like, uh, I need to get out of here. I need to cut ties with this old life. Like 15 years in finance, and just I was not. I was at a point where I was like, I can't. Is this all life is? Like, is this really all life is? Um, I just felt like the lights were turned off when I was in Morgan Stanley. Just like the lights were off. And I had this glimmer of like, oh my gosh, there's actually like something else out there. As I was starting to coach people and like help people, and I'd help people lose 20 pounds, and they'd be like, this is amazing, this is incredible. And like I would see this glimmer of like, oh my gosh, I might be able to do this. I might be able to actually do this. I see massive value happening in the lives of people that I'm helping. Um, and so I could see that there was some light out there, and I was like, I have to keep trying, have to keep trying, have to keep trying. So it was hard though, like cutting ties from Morgan Stanley. I mean, I had my 401k like growing really nicely. The job was comfortable, like it was easy to do. I had been doing it for so long, it was really easy to me. There was like no challenge at all anymore. And that was kind of that was a detriment, right? That was a detriment. I just wasn't challenged in my work at all. And I was just on autopilot, dude. Autopilot, and I was like, you know what? I could just ride off into the sunset. I could just ride off into the I could There was a couple guys that were above me that I was waiting to either leave or waiting for them to retire. And I was just waiting and waiting and waiting. And that was kind of my mantra. I was like waiting to live. That sucked. I mean,
Yeah.
looking back, that sucked, Brad. Waiting to live. And but I was like, you know what? But it's that comfort is like ties that bind, right? They're flaxen cords that just bind you. That comfort is just it will bind you. And but that's kind of where I was. I was like, you know what? I'll just, 5 or 7 years, maybe 8 years. These guys are. I'm gonna have a shot of a promotion. I'll get into senior management role, and I'll figure that out. That'll be kind of easy too, probably, and I'll just ride off into the sunset. 401k's there for me, and I'll retire at 67 or 68, and probably be 300 pounds by that point. But so that's kind of like where I was. So cutting the tie from Morgan Stanley was uh, it was a harrowing decision, because I'm at this point I'm like 41. I got a bunch of kids.
A
I got my
gaggle of
mortgage,
kids.
got my mortgage, got my wife, um, and it was really nerve wracking. Like it was really, really nerve wracking and just scary, like way scary. Um, but dude, I have this something in me, something in me kept saying, there's something more out there. Go get it. There is something more out there for you. Go get it. And I list, like, I think a lot of times people ignore that. They kind of shove that down, they ignore that. And I was like, I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen to that. Just that inkling, that inclination that I kept having of like, you got to go. You got to do this. You got to do this. So I, uh, I started putting it out there. So at this point, I had completely transformed my body and I had this new level of confidence that I was like, this is going to be rough. This is going to be scary. But I had this confidence that came from transforming my body that said, I can do this. I can do it. And Robin, my wife, she was the whole time, she's like, you can do this. She saw how bad I was, like what the situation that I was in, like how bad mentally I was. And she's like, you can do better. You can do better than this. You can do better than this job that you have. Like, just try. Just try. And as much as I hated hearing those words, dude, I was like, oh, they were the best words for me. They were the best words for me. And so there was an opportunity that came up. I started putting it out there that I was gonna be getting another job. So I was like, at least let me just get out of Morgan Stanley. I'll get a new job, and then we'll kind of see where we go. So there was a job, completely different industry. It was in marketing. I was like, I'm going to take it. So I got this job. It was in marketing with a production company, and I did okay. I was like, all right, I'll do this. Went for a full 12 months at that job, all the while coaching part time, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
coaching part time, bringing on as many clients as I possibly can part time, doing my day job during the day, and working on my vision and my business in the evening, right? And just continuing to hustle and grind and do that for a full 12 months. And then the there's a small production company. The owner of the company comes to us, and this I was in affiliate marketing. He says, "Hey, the company's being bought. I'm selling the company." And so I was like, oh, okay, well, whatever. So the company sold, new ownership comes in, and they're like, hey, we're switching from affiliate marketing as our like primary source of marketing to now we're going to be doing paid advertising. I was like, oh, sweet. I've always wanted to learn the paid advertising side. I want to do this. Um, and so I was like, great. I'm excited to get going on this. And they're like, well, unfortunately, this department is actually not going to be here any longer. So I was like, okay.
Dissolving.
So I was without a job. And I was like, this is like the last kick. This is like the last kick in the back that I need to go full time. And so I was like, go go full time. And so I started going. So that's when I made the leap. The transition was now complete from the corporate America to a smaller company to now my own company. And the transition was now complete. And I was like, I'm either going to I'm either going to uh, do it or die. It was do or die at that point. So yeah, so it was like sink or swim at that moment, So I was like, I'm gonna I'm gonna swim. I'm gonna push as hard as I possibly can, and I'm gonna show my boys, teenage boys, that you can absolutely do anything that you set your mind to do. I am going to show them. I've told them that their whole life. It's time now for those words to carry weight. They're going to see that their dad can do anything that he sets his mind to. And that was how I went into that.
That's awesome. And what a wild ride of a story. God has a funny way of kicking you out of the nest when he knows you can fly. It's like your wings are developed. You can fly. You just don't think you can. So I'm just gonna kick you out. Have fun and figure it out on
Yeah,
the way down.
yeah. So there was a lot of um, I took the time to really develop skills, right? Like while I was at Morgan Stanley, and after I had been coached, I was like, dude, I can see the power of this, um, and I started to learn the skills of how to coach, and I was doing that all the while in my free time, really, um, and trying to figure out how to get. I knew I could get results in myself. I got results in myself. So now I had to figure out how to get results in other people. And so I developed those skills. But yeah, you're right, dude. When God says you're ready, but maybe he doesn't even say you're ready, right? He's like, he knows that you're ready. Maybe you don't know. But yeah, it seemed like it was this whole process between it was a very spiritual journey. Like it was a
Absolutely.
very spiritual like we were connected the whole time. Looking back in hindsight, dude, I just remember just opening my heart to God and just trying to be guided. And I can see he guided me the whole time. That was something I was very conscious of like trying to be guided through this process. So, and looking back, it was him steering the boat, and I was just rowing, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
you gained the skills, you did the work, and then finally made the leap.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
that's
that's
how it
all it
was.
takes. That's all it really takes. And as you said, you just kept rowing and how important it is for all those that are listening. I know there are several that listen to this podcast that they feel that kick, they feel that urge. It's time to go. And as you said, hindsight's 2020. You know, looking back, you were ready. You were overboiled ready, and you just kept waiting because you were scared. You had a lot of fear and a lot of trepidation about the unknown because you were comfortable. I actually call the comfort zone the familiar zone because I argue that it's not comfortable at all.
You're right.
And
The familiar zone. You're right.
you were just very familiar with where you were at, and you knew you needed to go to the unfamiliar, and it's scary in the unfamiliar, and there's a lot of things and you can fail. And here's the thing, people say I'm going to stay here because i I have the ability to be comfortable, to be safe, and you learn how fast that can dissolve, literally. And that's what really was the final kick of there is no safety net except for the net you make and hold yourself.
Yeah, the only safety net that I could think of for me anyways was my own skill set that I was developing. Like
Hmm.
that's the safety net. That's something that cannot be taken from you. So
You are the net.
yeah, developing your skills, um, all the while, dude, that right there is confidence. That's
I
what
love
that's
that.
what that's what gave me that, and that's what still gives me like massive confidence, like rock steady confidence that everything's going to be fine. Is like developing the skills.
I love that. So in our final minutes, went by super, super fast. In our final minutes, what is one nugget that you can share? And naturally, it'll be the very first thing that comes to mind.
Open your heart, see the message that's written there, and don't hesitate on it.
I love that.
That's
It's so
that's it.
simple and so
Like
powerful.
that inclination, that's the writing. That's the writing that you'll find when you open your heart, and that message is there from God. And have courage. Don't hesitate. Take action on that message that's in your heart, and be led by God. Be guided.
There's no better way to close it out. So, Brian, where can the listeners find you if they want to reach out?
So Instagram is my hub really. So Brian Thomas Lund, that's Brian, Brian Thomas Lund, and there people can see my work. They can see what I'm trying to figure out on Instagram. I don't know how to. I'm still figuring the socials out. So I don't. Anyways, but they can see me at on Instagram there, and then they can see my body of work that's with my clients on Instagram. In the story highlights, they can see a handful of transformations and clients that I've helped lose body fat, get stronger, build their physicality, make themselves elite from a physical standpoint. And yeah, so and then so Instagram there, and then my website if anybody wants to check out my work that I do to help people get in the best shape of their lives. It's Body Boost by Brian.com.
I love all that. And as always, you can find me, Mr. Brad Draper. Share this episode with your friends and family. It is the only way it grows. We grow organically, which is the best way. Like this thing, subscribe to it, download it for future listenings. We love you guys. Bye.